And we talked about how to do oversampling here previously. So there are, okay, option 1, well, it's option 2. If there are not enough O's for option 1, that's not it. That is it. Okay, so here it is. So randomly select equal number of records for each group. Okay. So you separate the data by responder and non-responder. Okay. And then select from those two sets. So the first thing we're going to do here in oversampling is separate the rows, okay, responder rows and non-responders. Okay, so responses, let's call it responses df. Okay, and we will use the subset function, and what we want to subset is this data set. Okay, this data set needs to be subsetted, and by what rule should we use to subset? So that would be, we want to put all responses equal to 1. So we are now checking whether response is 0 or 1. So for that comparison operator is 2 equal signs. Okay, if you put just 1 equal sign, you're going to get an error. All right. So what this is going to do is going to go through overs.df, and whichever row has response equal to 1, that's going to be put into this responses.df. Okay. And I'm going to copy that line and make this non-responses. Okay, I put a capital R for easy readability. Okay, so that would be non-responses are 0, right? So now this is going to separate the records into 2 groups. Okay, so now we have that right here. Okay. Now oversample train 50% of responses, an equal number of non-responses. Okay, and then we're going to deal with the validation sample. So training sample will have to be oversampled in case of rare cases, okay, because you want to be able to train your model with enough positive cases. So you'll always, in case of rare event data set, you'll always oversample the train set. The validation set, maybe not. Okay, so train set must be oversampled. All right, so we're going to put half of the responses into the train set. So since I'm going to be using these values again and again, let's set it up. Okay, we'll call nresp as number of responses, right? Number of responses is okay. So we have responses right here. So n row responses.df will give us number of responses. Okay. So n non-responses. Okay. So that's going to be the non-responses. Okay. So we have the size of the 2 sets, and then we're going to need, because we're going to do half of the responses, let's set up another variable, okay, nresp over 2. Okay, so this is for convenience. This is one way of doing it, because you don't have to keep nresp over 2 again and then again. We set it up so we can use those numbers from now on. Okay, so run that. All right. So now, how do we? So we have to randomly select rows to be included in the train set. Okay, so let's set seed. Okay, and then generate row numbers for the responses. So sample sequence nresp. So that's going to give us numbers 1 through however many responses there are. There are 250 responses, so you're going to have numbers 1 through 250. And you want half of them, so nresp half. So this is going to generate into S1 250 randomly selected numbers. I'm sorry, 125 randomly selected numbers between 1 and 250, and we will use that into the train set. And we will do another one. Okay, now I'm going to copy this. So we're not going to use the same series of numbers. Okay. Now we need, here we need non-responses, right? So okay, so non-response. Okay. So this is going to be from the non-responses. So there are n non-responses rows. So from that, we still need the exact same number. Okay, you want 50-50. So this part is the same. N, we want 125, but we want it from this sequence. Okay. Then we can set the train equal to. So now we're going to have two groups of rows. We want to put them together. We have S1 number of rows coming from responses, and then S2 number of rows coming from non-responses, and we want to put them, okay, the rows to be combined. So the function for that is rbind. R stands for row binding. Rbind will, so you say rbind, right? So from responses .df, we're going to get S1 rows, the S1 being the row numbers selected for the responses. Okay. And then non-responses, we want the S2, the rows in S2. Okay. All right. So that's going to give us the train set. Again, we can do a table of train. Let's put a DF to indicate that it is a data frame. Okay. And then we can do a prop table of the table. Responses. Table greater than 2 to the power. So I need response here. Okay. So now we have exactly 125 zeros and 125 ones, 50-50. Okay. So now we are done with train.